watching Omnis Protocol. This game is featuring Asgard versus Web Warriors. The Crisis combination is Spider Portals, the one that actually comes with Miles, and Evacuation, the Crisis that comes with Star-Lord. This is featuring the Energy Guard strategy that I talked about in a recent podcast. So the idea here is that Asgard wants to force either Spider Portals or Deadly Meteors and run lots of characters that generate extra generate extra power. In this particular case, I am running Thor, Valkyrie, and Angela to show off her the first time on video. And then I've got Ronan and Okoye rounding out the 5-character team. Web Warriors is going with Miles, Gwen, Peter, and then it also has Captain Marvel and Ghost Rider. Both Ghost Rider and Captain Marvel have some cool synergies with Web Warriors, and they have solid energy defense to help them out in this crisis. Okay, so Miles is starting things off, and he goes up and he does flip it to Web Warriors right away. So this is one where you've got to roll your energy defense, and then you need crits and wilds to flip it. You need to get more than the number of enemy characters that are there. So in this case, he needed 1. He also rolled a skull. So in this case, he gets pushed away from the crisis when you roll a skull. So this can actually penalize some of the 4 energy defense characters, because then they may not end up staying there contesting because they get that skull. So what I'm going to do here is I'm moving up with, I believe this is Okoye. All right, and then I'm also I flip it, but she gets pushed away. And it looks like while I was talking earlier, Valkyrie was my first activation. She grabbed a citizen and then moved over and flipped to the point closest to me. Sorry for missing that part. Okay, so here they have Captain Marvel move up and grab the citizen and is taking a shot at Okoye. This was... So because he pulled Okoye forward, and he went for a strike here, he did not get any damage because she was counting blocks as successes. And so he was kind of hoping to get some little extra energy generation there to keep things going, as opposed to going for the 4 dice energy blast, which I think would have been optimal. Keep Okoye a little further back, push her maybe towards the middle a bit, and then have still have Captain Marvel move up, but have the 4 dice reroll all attack is probably more reliable in that case. Okay, so here... Ronan moves up. He does not grab the civilian, but he flips the crisis on the bottom. So one of the interesting things about this crisis is I would not normally say it is a good crisis for Web Warriors. Obviously, they didn't choose it in this matchup, but a lot of time Web Warriors are actually pretty strong into the D secures that have the D formations set up. But this one, causing them to spend their power just to try to secure it, can be a little rough because they really want to hit those 2 power numbers to hit some of their key abilities. So it's really not an optimal situation for them, but it's not an optimal crisis for most affiliations and most team builds, which is part of why I'm wanting to demonstrate how teams built for this type of crisis can really make a huge splash in the meta, which not a lot of people are doing. So as you can see here, like things are already leaning the way that like Asgard is going to end up with a significant crisis advantage coming out of round 1. There's still Angela and Thor remaining to activate 2 4 energy characters, and currently Asgard is already controlling 3 out of 4 of the spots. I was thinking at this point in the game that maybe Angela should have been a bit more centrally deployed, so that she would have the option of going after the one all the way on my opponent's side, but I did not really set up for that, so she's not in position to do that. Because I'm already in a strong place scenario-wise, I decide to have Thor kind of stack up on that far one in case Ghost Rider decides to go for it, so that he has to get 3 successes if he wants to go all the way over there. So Ghost Rider gets it, but also gets the relocation. I shouldn't say push. It's like a teleport. It's a place. It's not the end of the world for Ghost Rider, but you can see how that could cause a pretty big problem for characters that are slow movers. So he's kind of thinking about a very central deployment, so Ghost Rider can threaten a lot of directions. And so he's currently thinking that maybe that would be too far forward, factoring in Valkyrie's threat. And so he wants to kind of just outside of Valkyrie's charge range, just in case, which I think that is a reasonable plan for sure. Yeah, so this is where I was checking, trying to go like, could Angela get there? And no, even with the long move, she's not going to be able to get there. She would have been able to if I had gone straight. So here I could definitely walk up and use her range 4 attack onto Captain Marvel, but making an energy attack onto a character like Captain Marvel seems like a mistake. So I'm gonna kind of move up and try to like secure that spot. And again, also I moved Miles far enough away that she couldn't really make an attack on him either. So I kind of contemplate here, do I want to like throw anything? It feels weird to like be like, this is my first time playing Angela, first activation, and doesn't really have anything super cool to do. So I think I'm going to end up just moving her again. Yeah. So nothing too crazy from her yet. I think, again, maybe a more central deployment would have been better, but I had set her up so that she had the potential to walk up, interact, and attack someone that was on that particular objective. So Gwen's going not for the flip and instead wants to kick Okoye. And no damage. She gets to move up. Oh, he does decide to move and go for it. Yeah. So he does not get the flip. And so Gwen is getting teleported away as well. So he ended up rolling pretty poorly on the teleport placement. All right, so that is going to end the round with Asgard going up 5-3 because both sides have 2 evacuees, and then we have 3 of the secures on Asgard. So that's going to carry us into the next round. So off to a strong start for Asgard. Let's see what happens next. All right, it is round 2. So lots of power going around. Angela's getting pretty stacked now because she didn't really do anything last turn. I still have priority, and there's only one secure that I'm not currently controlling. So my thoughts here is that maybe this is where Angela goes. Thor could probably get over there, but I'm thinking about saving him. But I'm thinking about some of the cool stuff that Angela can do. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the size 3 at Gwen and see if he wants to burn his brace for impact. So she spends her 1 and braces. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to make my Sword of the Stars attack. She ends up with 3 blocks because of a crit. And so I end up only dealing 1. And so now I get to place Angela within range 2 of Gwen. So I could place on the other side of Gwen and then still just like make 1 advance and be on the extract in the back, or sorry, the secure in the back. Just contemplating options. Again, this is the first time I've played Angela. Contemplate a couple of options here. Now I'm thinking that now actually I could attack Ghost Rider with my second action. So I'm like, I am a little concerned, like loading Ghost Rider up with power could be pretty bad. But I'm like, you know what? Like getting to make an attack and getting to go after the crisis in the same action seem pretty good. I don't have to deal damage to move, so I decide I'm going to go for the attack on Ghost Rider. Um, I think I rolled one hit there, so it was no damage because even before rerolls. So she still teleports onto the point. Ghost Rider is not on it, so she just needs one success. I do decide to spend one to interact, obviously. That's the whole point of the team. I do not get a skull, and I do flip it. So now, currently, Asgard has all of the spots. However, I do not have anyone on the top secure, and so that one's going to be a pretty easy one for them to flip at the moment. I am realizing now that maybe it would have been a good idea for me to disarm over on the other side. All right, so he's got an attack coming in on Okoye. This was Captain Marvel, it looks like. She overall ended up dealing 2 damage. This was an energy blast. He had 2 successes overall. I block 1, take 1. Leaves Okoye at 1. He's trying to decide now whether to save the power with Captain Marvel to potentially binary form later on, or if he wants to chuck a car at her. So he decides to save the power. I think either decision in that case probably would have been a reasonable one. Okoye is not the most threatening character. I decide to use one of her power to use the Asgardian leadership to heal 1. Very important. Like, you have to do that before you activate. And I think now she's going to go down, so I might as well make use of her activation. Nobody can flip a crisis. I chose to attack Gwen. After my reroll, I generate a power, but I do not deal any damage. So now I'm going to use her spender. I don't get a wild, and I don't deal any damage. Not great odds for that there, but Okoye can't boss people every activation. But I figured Okoye is probably going down. I've got to activate someone, so I might as well activate her and save the other 3 for potential secure situations. So also, I think in the first round of the game, I may have failed to capture the Spider-Man moment. He did move up, grab the secure, and then chill out on a building, probably while I was talking about something else. So now he's trying to decide where he wants to move back to. So he moves over, decides to... he's thinking about punching Angela. So he's just kind of like, we're just kind of talking out some few different spots for her to go, or for Spider-Man to go to. He does an impact webbing. He actually gets 2 damage on her, but because of ribbons, we are not resolving a push because current wording of it says that enemies can't put movement templates overlapping her base, which according to current rules is overlapping and contacting are functionally the same thing. So there may be errata on that down the road. So that is something to absolutely keep an eye on, but that's how we were playing it out for this game. So no push there. One thing we had discussed is because Ghost Rider's Highway to Hell card doesn't use a movement template, it uses a range tool. You would be able to still Highway to Hell her. So that is something that we've kind of talked out being a possibility in this game. He also decides that Spider-Man is going to use the power that he has from this round and from the impact webbing to use tactical analysis on Ghost Rider. I think the idea here is that he wants to be able to set up a Highway to Hell on Angela and get her the hell out of the situation. get her the hell out of the situation. Hilarious. So I decide here, again, I don't have an extract play, and so I'm always usually keeping an eye out for, like, first rule of playing this team and playing this strategy is the secure first. But I don't have it, so Thor's going to walk up, and I just want him to shock a Ghost Rider. I think there I just did 1 damage and put shock on him. So not anything a huge deal there. Okay, Ghost Riders now wants to go to town on Angela. I rolled 4 successes and one of those was a crit, rolled into a 5th success, so she takes nothing from the first attack. He only had 5 dice because of shock, but still, that was still a very spiky defense roll for sure. Even with the crit, you're probably not averaging more than 2 to 3 blocks. So very, very awesome play for her. But after taking 2 damage from the impact webbing, it's probably reasonably close to average, but this isn't a game where you play averages. He's contemplating here to use advanced R&D to give power to Ghost Rider. We're gonna he can obviously wait until the next play. So what he's currently thinking about is moving and using the long move to drop her off somewhere. But we kind of talk about all of the potential options there and decide, you know what, no advanced R&D, he's not moving, he's going to make another attack. He makes another attack. I'm blocking 1. He hits for 2, so I take 1. All right, Angela keeps things going. Oh yeah, and Angela did use the Asgard leadership during Thor's activation. All right, not a great activation from Ghost Rider for sure. I mean, shocked definitely hurts, but 5 offensive dice versus 4 defensive dice should probably go a little bit more in Ghost Rider's favor than that. So not great. He does get the Hex on her, though. He did land that, so that was good. Again, I don't have a secure play, so Valkyrie just kind of backs up a little bit and is chilling like a villain. All right. Miles moves up. He's going to interact. Goes ahead and flips it to Web Warriors. Three successes. Was blocking 2. Gets 1 more damage on Okoye. So if it hadn't been for the leadership, she would have just been dazed there. Miles does generate a power. This is again where this crisis really hurts Web Warriors, because if Miles hadn't had to interact on the round 1 and he was just moving up onto the point, then he would have been at 2 so that he could just, web line over. Then he hits harder, saves an activation. It really kind of spirals things out of control. I decide here, again, I don't have a wonderful option for going after that spot over there now. So I decide I'm going to move Ronan back towards that direction. He still has Gwen. Gwen's going to move over there. Because of ribbons, she doesn't have a way to get Angela off of that point. She does get the flip there. So that's good. That means that they're going to end the turn with 2 of the secures, which means that they're not going down to a huge deficit right now. She did get pushed away. Okay, so we score 4-4. So that ends up meaning that round 2 ends with a score of 9-7. Let's move on to round 3. All right, again, score 9-7. I am going to warn you guys, there was a point during this video where the camera actually kind of tilted down slightly. So there'll be a point when I sort of zoom in on the board a little bit more, and it is going to cut off part of what's semi-important. Unfortunately, there was just no way for me to avoid that. I can't just go back and re-record the end of the round, but there wasn't a ton of things happening at that point. So I'm just kind of forewarning you that that is going to happen, and I'm sorry, and I'll try to avoid that in the future. I still wanted to show you guys this game, show off Angela, show off Web Warriors. There's a lot to see here. Okay, so I still have priority. I decide here that I'm going to use the Asgard leadership to remove Hex from Angela. And I did realize at this point that I rolled a defensive crit with her last round, but thankfully it didn't give a success, so it doesn't mess anything up. So I throw the truck at, I believe, Spider-Man. I end up dealing 4 damage to her. So that's not great for Gwen at all. So she's down, or Spider-Man's down to 1 after his rerolls. Okay, so now I'm taking my first attack action. 6 dice on Spider-Man. We end up with, I have enough successes that he's taking the 1 damage either way. So I generate a power and daze Spider-Man. I am going to end up picking up the secure, or picking up the extract. But we're also going to resolve Cosmic Assassin because I dazed a character. And this is why, normally speaking, I would say you make your strike first so you can generate more power. But in this case, I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting the killing blow with the throw. And so I went for the throw first. Unfortunately, the throw did most of the damage, which means I don't generate a ton of power, but she's still doing crazy stuff. So, okay. So, resolve. I think technically the right order would be to resolve the Cosmic Assassin strike and then pick up the extract. But rather than worrying about like where it's going to get dropped on the table. Okay, so we are going to do the Cosmic Assassin. She has 1 reroll, takes 3 damage. I generate 3 power. She has 1 left now. This is where I actually pick up the extract. I didn't move, and so it doesn't really matter that order, but just for new players watching, that would be the most appropriate order. Okay, so now I still have a second action. Okay. I ended up with 4 successes after the crit. And so there was a little bit of confusion here. He thought I was attacking Ghost Rider. So we were kind of clearing that up. I was like, hey, I got 4 successes. It doesn't matter. Your rerolls. Let's just move on to the next thing. And he thought I was attacking Ghost Rider. He wanted to see how much power Ghost Rider was going to get. And we're like, oh, okay. So I get 1 more power. I do not get a Cosmic Assassin again. But I want to say for the record, now Angela's 3rd activation of the game, she dazes 2 characters and is now going to flip the extract. So I do place little slightly towards her, and I get the flip there. So, all right, I was making a joke here that I was saying Angela, goddess of Marvel Crisis Protocol, and I made my opponent kind of grunt at me because I was like, I'm gonna nickname Angela Raid because she kills all the spiders. So, little terrible puns going on here in the game at the moment. But that's a crazy swing for this. I'm already ahead on the Crisis. I have this point. He now only has 3 characters to activate. I have 4 more, and I'm controlling most of the secures. So this is a potential very dominating swing, and I got Spider-Man, who had the extract. So that is just an absolutely huge game-defining play. He does activate Captain Marvel, and gets the days on a Koye to try to swing things a little bit. He decides to back up because she can't flip the one over there because it's already Web Warriors. So she moves kind of towards Angela, kind of like angling for what's going to happen next round. So here is where Valkyrie's going to move up. She spends 2 to throw Miles. Want to get him off the point. This is why Valkyrie can be such an absolutely critical character for this crisis. Now I interact. I get it, but I also get the skull, so Valkyrie is going to be moved off of it. He decides to have Valkyrie teleport towards Miles. Interesting place effect. This is kind of how this game goes. But this is spiraling out of control very quickly. He has 2 activations left. I have 3. So he does have a potential pass. Or no, I have 2. So the days kind of takes away the pass option. Miles ends up putting 3 damage onto Valkyrie. He did not get the wild to kick her. He uses the web line to place. He does get the flip, and so he converts it back to Web Warriors and is pushed away from it because he also got the skull. Okay, so now I'm at a point where I have Thor and Ronan, and he has Ghost Rider. I'm like, can Ronan get there? I'm like, oh yeah, he's size 3, building size 3. He doesn't give a shit about the building. Ronan moves over, and he flips it, and does not get a skull. So he's just going to chill there. So I'm currently controlling all 4 of the points. He has Ghost Rider, and I have Thor. We start doing the math right here. And it's looking really bad for Web Warriors. Because like right now at this point, I'm going to score 7. And that alone wins the game. But because we're playing Evacuation, there's the problem of me evacuating on my first activation with 3 characters. So we sort of talk through the options. And if Ghost Rider had been in a slightly different position where he can use his power to try to like flip multiple secures with 3 different movements during his turn, and where if he was set up in a slightly different position, maybe he can pull that off. But as we kind of like look over the table, there really isn't a way to do that. And the problem is because I have Odin's Blessing, his best option to like turn the tides of this game would be to daze Angela. But the problem with her sitting on 4 power and having access to Odin's Blessing, there is no great way to take her out because he basically has to roll a one-shot. This is where the table messes up a bit, and I've got to correct the camera. So again, very sorry about that. I will make sure that doesn't happen in future episodes. But again, Ghost Rider doesn't have a lot of great options here. We're just kind of talking about who he could attack. Is there any way to try to swing this game in his favor? He has advanced R&D, which would give him additional power, but there's still the concerns of even if he interacts there, he means it'll end the turn with me going to 15. And then he still has the problem that if I get to 14, I have 3 potential characters that will all be in position to evacuate on my first activation. Any of those would win. And so what we're kind of mathing out here is not just what gets him through the round, but he has to swing it by 3 points or leave me with less than 2, get one of the characters to drop the civilian right now. And so that he only has to daze 1. But it's just, we're kind of like mathing through all the situations, and we eventually are kind of come down to the best thing that we can really do is just see if he can roll the one shot on Angela, and then have to go for it again, and then maybe with a long move he can like flip one more. But like I said, the odds at this point, things are probably already over. We're just going to kind of like see how things go. So he's got to roll the one shot with shock. I block 1, take 2 damage, so just kind of totally average rolls there. And so that's kind of awful because taking 2 leaves me at 2, which means there's no way that he stops me with the second attack. Okay, so we realize at this point this is basically going to be game over, and I'll explain why in a moment. He rolls big enough to KO her, to daze her, so I Odin's Blessing. Okay. So he's got the power, so we're gonna have him interact. Okay, so he gets it, and we're gonna just like do the long move to see if he gets the other one. And this is where I'm really sorry about the camera, because it now is gonna kind of impact a spot where you're not really gonna see where he goes. And so if this is gonna end round 3, where I score 6 and go to 15. And then he scores 2, which again, not a lot. So now the problem is I have 3 characters all capable of evacuating their civilian. And technically I have Thor right here, and I could have him double move and flip that. But if he does, then he does not have the power to activate, and actually like gives him a weird option to like maybe slow down the game. And so it gets kind of crazy there. But basically what we decide is Thor just doesn't do anything, chills there, so he'll go up to 6 power. In the start of the next round, it doesn't matter if he dazes 1 character. He'd have to daze 2, and then there's still a 3rd character that can evac. So we call it there. That can be a really explosive crisis combination when you play evacuation against one of these Asgardian teams. So I don't usually recommend it. So, I don't know, crazy matchup. The moral of the story here is you want to come up with a plan for facing off against an Asgard team or an Avengers team on one of these crises. And I think even Defenders and Black Order can potentially build to this kind of like energy guard plan. So I'm happy to talk about. There's a whole episode that I just released on Monday about playing into this team and playing the team, and so I would strongly give it a listen. If you want to try it out on the TTS League or at home or in the next tournament, wherever you're at, go for it. I strongly recommend it, and I'm going to do some more content on both countering and playing it in the future. So again, thank you for watching on this protocol, and I will see you nerds in the next video. Peace!